Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I am so delighted to be here with all of you to welcome Shabbat and to be here with Jen Jacobsen, who wears many hats at Temple Road F. Shalom, including one of the vice presidents of our congregation. But one of my favorite hats that she wears is when Jen helps us to lead music for services. So we are so grateful that you're here.
So fun and so cool to be in this
It is
room.
wonderful, and I wanted to let everybody know that this is the prayer book we're using for tonight. It's this kind of soft-sided one. It's on both sides in the bookcases there, so please take one of those. And for those of you watching at home, just above where you are watching on the stream, click on the link for the prayer books, and it is the Festival Prayer Book. Those are the pages that we will be announcing. And this is actually the first time that we have had an adult service in the Mishkan, and the first time that we've had a service streamed in the Mishkan. So I think that calls for a Shehachianu. Don't you?
Yeah.
So let's say together, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Shehachianu V'Kiyamanu V'Higianu Lazman Hazeh. And we are going to continue in just a moment on page 128 with Hine Matov. And I would want to invite everybody to please turn off your cell phones. This used to be my least favorite part of the announcements, but I was sharing with somebody before that now it's become my most favorite because it means we actually have people here and they have cell phones. So please turn off your cell phones and join us page 128, Hine Matov.
Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yahad. 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 How good it is,
How good it is,
how sweet it is,
how sweet it is
to be together on this day. How good it is,
how good it is,
how sweet it is,
how sweet it is
to be together on this day. Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yahad. Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yahad.
And we'll continue with the lighting of the Shabbat candles, which you'll find on page 120. And I wanted to invite Susan Simon to come up. Susan is a past president of Temple Road F. Shalom. And Susan, I'm going to ask you to come to the mic so that everybody will hear you at home when you do the reading. You can read the English, then we'll chant it.
Okay.
You'll like.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own days be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel
And we will continue our service on page 138 as we welcome the Shabbat bride with Lecha Dodi. And it is our custom at Road of Shalom on the very last verse. We stand up and we face the door, although we could face this door, your choice, or that door. How about that? I never thought about it that way before. You can have, your choice. The Shabbat bride could come.
Why don't you tell us my story?
Okay, thank you, Lawrence. We'll go that way. Okay? How about, this is much prettier. All right, okay, we're going to go, we took a vote. We're going to go that way. I was overruled. I'm happy to be overruled. And then I'll ask you to remain standing for the Baruch. And Jen, which verses are we going to sing?
We're going to do 1, 5, and then 9.
Terrific. Lecha Dodi, page 138. This way.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, yishme'anu el hamayuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tifareh v'lethilah. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hituri, hituri, kiva orech kumi ori, uri ori shil daberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'tzola, tochem unei yam segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
We continue on page 146 with the Baruch Hu.
Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
Please join me on the top of page 149. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Arevim. We continue on page 150. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down, when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated. Please join us as we continue with V'ahavta, page 154. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shokbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam lehot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. We continue on the top of page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Michamocha, page 158.
Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedar b'kodesh, Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehillah
continue on the top of page 161. Please join me. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkot shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. We continue on page 162 with Vishamru.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, l'dorotam brit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, l'dorotam brit olam. B'nei uvein b'nei Yisrael utim li'olam. K'sheshet yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash, v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, l'dorotam brit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat.
In just a moment, we'll continue on page 164 with Tefillah. This is a prayer that connects us directly to our ancestors, reminds us of our connections in love to them. And I thought so much over the last year and a half about what they taught us about how to endure and how to survive and how to thrive. And here we are in our beautiful building, in our Mishkan for our first service. We are more than surviving. We are thriving, and we owe them such a great debt for what they taught us, and we are connected in love as well to all those who came before us, who taught us how to be human beings in this world, which is sometimes so complicated. So in that spirit, I invite those of us who are able to rise to do so, page 164, Tefillah.
Adonai sefatai tiftach uvi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu. Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, v'zocher chastei avot v'imachot, u'mevii gula livnei b'neihem, leman shemo be'ahava. Melech ozer u'moshiach u'magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechaye hakol,
Atarav lehoshia, morid hatal. Mechakel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim berofei holim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar. Micha mocha bal gevurot, umidomelach, melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'neheman atah lechayot hakol, baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, ukdoshim b'chol yom, yechalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. We continue on the top of page 173. Please join me. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 175. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu ba'amcha Yisrael. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and in our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, sha'otacha levadacha b'yirah na'avod. Page 177. Won't you please join me in the English reading at the top of the page? God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulchana'eh lahodot. The tefillah closes with our fervent prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, page 178.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech ador l'chol hashalom. Ki atahu melech ador l'chol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha levarech et emcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. tasim leolam, tasim leolam. Now I invite you to join in some silent prayer. Say shalom bimroma, Huya say shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, ve'imru say shalom bimromav, Huya say shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, ve'imru
Our thoughts turn now to those in our congregational family, our friends and family members who are in need of healing. And tonight, in particular, we think of Elon ben Barbara, Chana Esther bat Kreindl, Chana Leah bat Yosef Vehendel, Yehuda ben Fischel, Rabbi Lior bar Ami, Henry Botak, Benaifer Devar, Elizabeth Drabkin, Gail Gershman, Jamie Hecker, Martha Kelly, Kathy Kusel, Rhoda Moses, David Roby, and Dennis Stanley. And if you have a name that you would like to share, I invite you to do so.
Billy Gorski, Richard Jones,
David Cassidy,
Sean Carrot, and Sharon Ritter. Mark Thompson.
We join together in the Misha Berach prayer, which you'll find in your program.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Well, we've been having a lot of fun this summer so far with our summer service theme of Jewish humor, or as it says on your program, a rabbi and a priest walk into a bar. And I recently read a quote from a priest who said the priest always loses in those jokes. So I'm not going to tell that joke or one of those jokes tonight, but I am going to talk about a part of Jewish humor and somebody who I think is just the best. Feeling different, feeling alienated, feeling persecuted, feeling that the only way to deal with the world is to laugh, because if you don't laugh, you're going to cry and never stop crying. That's probably what's responsible for the Jews having developed such a great sense of humor. The people who had the greatest reason to weep learned more than anyone else how to laugh. These are the words of Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks' best friend, the late great Carl Reiner, said, "This guy is the funniest single human being on the planet." And his accomplishments are great. 3 of his films have made the American Film Institute's list of the top 100 comedies: Blazing Saddles, The Producers, and Young Frankenstein, or I think it was Frankenstein, right, in Frankenstein, in the movie. Frankenstein, thank you. He was one of the few, he is one of the few artists to have won an Oscar, an Emmy, a Grammy, and a Tony, and I'm speaking of him in the present tense because he just turned 95 years old. History of the World Part 1, which if you have not seen it, you must watch, has been on the syllabus for my Introduction to Judaism class for many years. And it is on the syllabus. Thank you, Brian. I can't tell you how much that means that you got that. So it's on the syllabus for one of our 2 history classes. And I once had a student say to me, "You have all these other films. Why do you have History of the World Part 1? I said, "Because we don't have time for a separate class on Jewish humor." So if you have not seen that film, you must. So in the film, you may know, if you have seen it, that Mel Brooks plays a number of roles. He plays Moses, in which he first receives 15 commandments on 3 tablets. He drops one. Whoops, now we have the 10 commandments. He also plays Tomás de Torquemada, the first Grand Inquisitor in the Inquisition, a big production number, right? And it was a little confusing for him. He did grow up in Brooklyn. He had kind of a tough childhood. His dad died when he was 2. And Brooks described how he began to understand the place of Jews in the world. He said, "When I was a kid, I was very confused by what the Jew was in the outer world. I knew what he was in Williamsburg. He was a runner and a rat and scared as hell. But Jews in the outside world, I heard different, conflicting things about. First of all, I heard they were communists, overthrowing all the governments in the world. When I was in high school, I thought the Jews' job in life was to overthrow every government. The other thing I heard was that the Jews were capitalists and that they had all the gold and the banks, and that the Jews' job was to kill all the socialists and the radicals. So I never really figured out what the Jewish mission was. Should I kill the capitalists and take their money? No, I'd be killing Jews. Should I stamp out the radicals so that we could keep our money? No, I'd be killing Jews. Very confusing." But this is during an interview. He leaps to his feet. "But enough of Jews," he said. "I will speak no more of Jews. In fact, I will speak no more of anything." So he began his career very briefly as a Borscht Belt comic, and then he went on to write for Sid Caesar and others over the years, the late, great Sid Caesar. But his real breakthrough came in 1960 with a series of sketches, and it became a recording called The 2,000-Year-Old Man. And if you haven't seen that, you must go home. I know it's Shabbat, but you've got to watch The 2,000-Year-Old Man. So The 2,000-Year-Old Man sounded like, if you had an Uncle Morty from Brooklyn, that's what he sounded like. And so Carl Reiner was the straight man, and tonight, surprise, surprise, I'm gonna be the straight man, and Jen is going to play the part of Mel Brooks. So there she is. I told you she was versatile. She's very versatile. So a 2,000-year-old man, I'm so curious, what was the means of transportation 2,000 years ago?
Mostly fear.
Fear transported you?
Fear, yes. An animal would growl, you would go 2 miles in a minute, fear would be the main propulsion.
I see. And, and 2,000 years old, you must have, a number of offspring.
I have over 42,000 children, and not one of them ever visits me.
So I also had a question for you. What was the plague like, the plague that you lived through?
Too many rats, not enough cats.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So he could have rested there, Diana, right? But he didn't. So in middle age, Brooks became one of the most successful film directors, with many of his films being among the top 10 moneymakers of the year in which they were released. And you're probably familiar with many of his films: The Producers, The 12 Chairs, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, is that right? Frankenstein, Silent Movie, High Anxiety, History of the World Part 1, Spaceballs, and Robin Hood Men in Tights. A musical adaptation of his first film, The Producers, ran on Broadway from 2001 to 2007, and it was remade into a musical film in 2005. Brooks injected Yiddishkeit and Jewish thinking and themes into his films. For example, in Blazing Saddle, the Native American chief speaks fluent Yiddish. No explanation, he just speaks fluent Yiddish. In History of the World Part 1, a Black Jewish Roman slave performs Hava Nagila. Also, in History of the World Part 1, Mel Brooks is the waiter at the Last Supper. This is classic. If you don't watch anything else in the film, you have to watch this. He comes in and wants to know who ordered the matzo ball soup. And in Robin Hood Men in Tights, he is the traveling rabbi, as he says, purveyor of sacramental wine and moil extraordinaire. And then he explains what a moil is by demonstrating with a mini guillotine and a carrot. So we know that Brooks loves to lampoon people who have persecuted Jews and others, including, as we heard, Torquemada in the Inquisition. And one of my favorites, the big production number in The Producers, Springtime for Hitler in Germany. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing it. Jen's not going to sing it, but I wanted to just share. Brian Posner. Oh boy, you guys are, okay, all right. So I'm not going to sing it, but I'll share one of the stanzas with you. Germany was having trouble. What a sad, sad story. Needed a new leader to restore its former glory. Where, oh where was he? Who could that man be? We looked around and then we found the man for you and me. And now it's springtime for Hitler and Germany. Deutschland is happy and gay. We're marching to a faster pace. Look out, here comes the master race. Mel Brooks has never been self-effacing. A number of years ago, I saw a 60 Minutes interview in which, I think it was before the Broadway production of The Producers, the musical, and the cast was going around in a circle saying who they were and what part they played, and when it got to Mel Brooks, he said, "Mel Brooks, Jew extraordinaire." He once said, "I have always been a huge admirer of my own work. I'm one of the funniest and most entertaining writers I know." When he was asked what drives him, Brooks said as follows, "My liveliness is based on an incredible fear of death. In order to keep death at bay, I do a lot of yeah, 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 and death says, no, right, he's too noisy and busy. I'll wait for someone who's sitting quietly, half asleep. I'll nail him. Why should I bother with this guy? I'll have a lot of trouble getting him out the door. There's a little door they got to get you through. This will be a fight, death says. I ain't got time. Most people are afraid of death, but I really hate it. My humor," Brooks said, "is a scream and a protest against goodbye." Mel Brooks has given us a lifetime of laughter, and we will never have to say goodbye. Those of you who know History of the World Part 1 know that among other characters, Brooks also plays King Louis XVI, and he says, "It's good to be king. Long live the king." So your assignment from me is to go home and watch some Mel Brooks this Shabbat, this weekend. So we will continue with our closing prayers, beginning with Aleinu on page 586, and I invite you to rise. We think now of all of our loved ones, those who have died recently, those whose yard sites we are observing this Shabbat. We send our condolences to Elsie Kapler upon the death of her sister, Catherine Kapler. And in addition, we remember those who have died in recent days and for whom we are in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning. And I know it's been a while since we've been together, but if you are here and you are observing a yard site or you're in the period of Shloshim, when I read the name of your loved one, if you're comfortable in so doing, I invite you to stand. For those in the period of Shloshim, we recall Carmela Barletta, the great aunt of Sarah Jacobs, Herbert Canty, father of Jennifer Canty, Adrian Gibson, the wife of Stuart Gibson, Barry Lastic, brother of Marcia Mann, Joe Lewin, grandfather of Hannah Rydell, Ellen Posner, mother of Brian Posner, Peter Rigby, father of Lauren Rigby, Toby Suskind, mother of Paula Goldstein, Steve Waldman, father of Sandra Spector, Joseph Walensky, father of Julie Walensky, and Tracy Zito, sister of Michael Zito. In addition, we recall those members of our community and our family members whose yard sites we observe this Shabbat: Rose Amberg, Marion Arena, Jacob Auerbach, Mark Barvin, Judith Ann Berkowitz, Joseph Bernheim, Lou Block, Dorothy Borenstein, Leo Deshefsky, Gad Efrach, Edwin Aaronworth, Esther Eisenberg, Bill Flotman, Francis Friedgood, Louis Friedner, Jack Goldstein, Cecilia Gould, Louis Gray, William E. Hensel, Gerald Hoffman, Harold Hyman, Bernard Carlin, Alfred Kaufman, Helen Kirschbaum, S. Frank Lavison, Raymond LeBeau, Armin Lehman, David Lalchuk, Jane Leon, May Levine, Charles Leibowitz, Dorothy Lyon, Robert Modlinger, Daniel Joseph Maffey, Herbert Needleman, Doris Poltolov, Louis Raskin, Ronald Roberts, Irving Rosenbaum, Judy Roth, Rosalie Sauber, Judy Schutzer, Gregory Skro, Jack Shapiro, Samuel Shapiro, Anne Skigan, Maurice Steinmetz, Peter Tausig, Arnold Turetsky, Pearl Vigoda, James Walther, Raymond Weckstein, Judy Weiss, Samuel Winarski, Ora Winograd, Sylvia Winter, and Hazel Udow. Is there anyone observing a yard site who would like to add a name to the list? We join in support of our mourners and turn to page 598 as we read the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra chirhute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon u'vyomechon, u'v'chay dekol Beit Yisrael, ba'agolau v'zman kori v'imru, Amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata. Da'amiram v'yama v'imru. Amen. Yehi shalomo Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Zichronam levracha, may the memories of all of our loved ones always be for blessing. Please be seated. It is now my pleasure to invite Lisa Katzman to come forward with some words of greeting and announcement. Lisa is one of the co-presidents of the Women of Temple Road of Shalom.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Bernstein and Jen. That was beautiful singing tonight and comedy. So, well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I'm honored to welcome you on behalf of our congregation to our worship service tonight, especially here in our new chapel, the Mishkan. Very exciting. For those of you who are visitors, albeit virtual, we hope that you will be able to join us in person when you are able to do so. It would be a joy to welcome you properly and tell you more about our extraordinary community. To those who have joined us in person, it's so good to be together again. Please check out the e-letter from yesterday and the latest edition of The Connection, which is also available on our website, for more announcements of upcoming events here at Temple Road of Shalom. So I have a few announcements. First of all, very important, High Holy Day registration has opened. You should have received a detailed email from us yesterday morning with instructions on how to access our registration portal and much more on the upcoming High Holy Days at TRS. Important High Holy Day details are also available on our website, and we'll highlight key reminders in the e-letter each week. You won't forget. If you did not receive the email, please contact Laura Roche. Join us this October for the Israeli-Palestinian dilemma, moving beyond who's right and who's wrong, a three-part virtual symposium sponsored by the Adult Education and Israel Committees. For all of us who love Israel, its people, its promise, its innovative spirit, these recent months have been painful and deeply distressing. Even as this fragile coalition pieces itself together, many of us ask, what will it take to bring peace to Israel? A peace that is lasting and just for all. Check our calendar or the weekly e-letter for the early bird registration link. And near and dear to my heart, I hope you will join us virtually on Tuesday, August 17th at noon for Women of TRS's annual Yes Fund event. We will feature a compelling speaker about reproductive and gender-based violence against women of color, while raising funds for the Youth Education and Special Projects Fund of the Women of Reform Judaism. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to continue with the Kiddush in just a moment on page 123, but before we do so, just a couple of announcements. I wanted to ask if you could please return your service sheets to, you'll see on the side in each of the bookcases there is a spot for those. That makes it easier for our maintenance staff. And finally, you may have noticed on your way in that there was something all covered up, sort of a table, and that is what we're calling, or Cookie is calling, a goneg. So what is a goneg? We have a little package of goodies for each, I don't even know how many are in there. So if, let's say one per family, but if there's enough, you can each, is there enough?
There's a bag of cookies and there's a little bag of cookie powder.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you so much. So this is what we're calling a goneg until we can, be together to have one in person. For eating away, because right now we can't eat together, but we will one of these days soon, Halavai. So we will continue with the Kiddush on page 123. Please rise. Using vintage.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzah banu v'shabbat kosho yahavahu v'ratzon hilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehillah limikra kodesh zecher l'tziat Otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava uratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
One more very important announcement. We're learning here in our new worship space. Please return your prayer books to the bookcases on your way out on either side. And our closing song is not in your prayer book, but I know that we've sung it before. The words are very easy.
Thank you.
Olam Chesed Yibaneh.
Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. 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 I will build this world from love, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. And you must build this world from love, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. And if we build this world from love, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai, then God will build this world from love, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai.
Olam Chesed Yibaneh. O God, may we build a world with love, with joy, and with humor. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom. Oh my God, you lost your voice in the middle of it. It's all right. Thank you.
Lots
Thank
of
goodness
fun.
you're a singer because you saved me.
You doing okay? Just as-
Yes.